Bright Duty. Every student matters.
Now, students, let us talk about the evils of caste system. Before this, we have been talking about the social system here. We have been talking about the evils that existed in the society. And one of the points here that we talked about was the caste system, right? So you already are aware about the term that is caste system. So this is the hierarchy that is present in our society or that existed since the ancient India in our society, where you have learned about the term that is Varna system. So in ancient India, you might have heard this term that is Varna system. Are you aware about it? So when we are talking about the existence of caste system, there is one thing that you need to focus on. The point that is, now this is a social ladder. This was a social ladder that existed in the society where we are talking about different groups, different communities who were living in our country, India. They were separated by this caste system here, where we see the Brahmins who were at the top of the ladder. Then we have the Kshatriyas, then we have the Vaishyas, then we have the Shudras and untouchable heroes. So please remember this point here. In this social hierarchy, at the top, the Brahmins were there who constructed this in our society, this Varna system, where we are talking about the bifurcation of the society among the individuals belonging to different castes. Now, this was something that was based on birth, by occupation and different other criteria that were used here. Okay. So, it has been existing since ancient India. It was not something that was new to this modern India concept here. So, people, they started following the caste system here in our country. And somewhere the existence of caste system was something that was not appreciated by the social reformers. So there were so many social reformers who tried to, or who wanted to change the whole system or the taboo that existed because of the caste system here. Okay, so this is an important point that you need to focus on. Now let us try to have a look at the evils of the caste system. As in, why caste system it was objected in the country? Why people they were against the whole idea of caste system? What were the difficulties that people they had to face because of the caste system? So the first point that you need to focus on is enmity and jealousy. Now how can we tell about enmity and jealousy because of the caste system here? So there were so many groups who were formed and sharp differences developed among them. Now whenever we are talking about the caste system, please remember students, even in modern India, or let's say when we are talking about the medieval period, when we are talking about the ancient period, we see that group of Brahmins were there. We are talking about Kshatriyas. Now Kshatriyas were the warriors of the kings, ancient India. When we are talking about the Vaishyas, now all the people who were involved in economic activities, businessmen, all the merchants, landowners, they came under the category of Vaishyas. Now when we are talking about the Shudras, we are talking about the commoners, the peasants, the servants, and at last we are talking about the untouchables who were considered as Harijans. When we talk about Mahatma Gandhi, he gave the term Harijans to these Dalits or the untouchables that we are talking about. So here in modern India as well, the whole caste system was being followed. Now because of this, there were so many different communities in our society. And when we are talking about communities in our society, everyone would be supporting their own community here. So let's say when we are talking about the Brahmins or when we are talking about the Kshatriyas, when we are talking about the upper caste in general per se, we see that they were totally against the whole idea of involving the untouchables in their own group. So because of this, it led to the emergence of sharp differences among all these groups, and also these differences and jealousy, it did not allow the people to mingle up together, to unite together, which was needed or which was the need of the hour in our country during the British rule. The second point is untouchability. Practice of untouchability was persistent in our country during the British rule in our country, and we are talking about this period here only. So when we are talking about the untouchables, like I showed you the ladder here, they were at the base of this ladder. It means that the position of the untouchables, obviously it was something that was not appreciated, or they were not allowed to mingle up with the rest of the society here. So they were not, imagine a situation where an untouchable person, he was not allowed to live with other people in the normal society that existed. The untouchables, they were not allowed to mingle up in that particular civilized society. Now what was the reason behind it? The whole term that is untouchable, it means that these were the people who were excluded from the society, the existing society there. So they were not allowed to wear shoes, they were not allowed to like ride bicycles, they were not allowed to use umbrellas. In fact, they were not even allowed to, show their head up, like they could not walk like this on the road. So these were certain things that were not appreciated by these social reformers, who thought that this is, trying to create a bridge among all the people, the communities in our society. Now, untouchables in rural India or the urban India, when we are talking about, so we are talking about the cities here, the modern cities here, they were crowded together in squalid slums. In today's area as well, for example, when we are talking about Delhi, you might have learned about or heard about Selampur. When we are talking about Asia's largest slum area, you might have heard about Dharavi, that is in Mumbai. So whenever we are talking about the slum areas, it means that we are talking about the untouchables who are living there. In fact, in rural areas as well, we see that vast majority of untouchables they were exploited as landless agricultural laborers, and they were ruled by terror and intimidation. So when we're talking about the untouchables in today's day as well, we see that these people, they are secluded from the society. They have to do work such as picking up the rags. For example, when we are talking about the people who are cleaning toilets, when we are talking about the people who are the rag pickers, when we are talking about the people who are sweeping the sweepers on the road. So these are certain people who come under this category, and today we know that in our constitution we have Article 17 talking about the abolition of untouchability, but still we see that people, they try to practice, and who are practicing it, they are being punished by the law. The third point here is religious advancement. Now, people belonging to other religions, they found Hinduism difficult to adopt. You know that Hinduism, this religion was being practiced since the ancient period. Now, when we are talking about the modern period, we know that there are all other religions here. We are talking about Hinduism, we are talking about Christianity, we are talking about Islam, we are talking about Buddhism, Jainism, and all the other religions that existed in our country as well. So here we see that because of the spirituals, like rituals, or let's say this spirituality, or let's say when we are talking about Hinduism in general, the rules that people had to follow, they found it really difficult to adopt this religion in general. So the status of equality was not being given here. The main reason was this, that in Hinduism, caste system existed. At each and every level, caste system, jatis, everything existed in our country here. So somewhere people, they were not able to comprehend with the idea of or the ideologies of Hinduism, because they thought that equality was not existing here. They could not leave their own faith for a religion in which they had no interest. So definitely this was another region here, religious advancement. The next point is world brotherhood. What do we understand by world brotherhood here? So the caste system is against brotherhood. The whole idea of brotherhood, the whole idea of unity and diversity, the whole idea of living together, the whole idea of keeping the community intact. Obviously, we see that caste system was trying to bridge, or let's say create a gap or bridge between these communities. So the caste system should be removed from the society. This was the basic idea that was being propounded by all the people, by the social reformers especially. Now, Indians in this age of science and technology, they should not follow old practices. Now, this was a practice that was initiated during the ancient period of our country, and it had it was being practiced till the modern period. So, somewhere the social reformers, they said that this is not the time to prepare it anymore. We need to just change the whole system here. It should not be existing here. So therefore, they wanted to end the whole caste system. Another evil of the caste system was the non-liberal outlook. Now, when we are talking about the existence of caste system, we see that there is a non-liberal outlook among the Indians. Why? What is the meaning of non-liberal? So when we are talking about the liberals, it means that we are talking about those people who believe in the ideology of change. They are looking for change in the society, and also in a positive sense. Okay, so here when we are talking about non-liberal, it means that somewhere we are looking forward to the conservative outlook. Conservative outlook, it means that they emphasize on the importance of traditions. So please remember this point, very important here. So this outlook does not allow Indians to mix up with the foreigners and go to the foreign lands. So here when we are talking about the non-liberal outlook, they are focusing on being conservative. They are trying to protect their own tradition. They are trying to protect their own custom. And here we are talking about the hardcore Hindu Hindu people or Hindu community, people of Hindu community, who are trying to focus on the importance of their own religion. They were trying to show that this is the religion that everyone should be following. And here they saw that people, the Indians here could not be allowed to mix up with foreigners or go to the foreign land. So here the whole idea was that the Indians, they could not go to the foreign countries for trade or for education. So this was the non-liberal outlook of the caste system here, which was not being appreciated. The last point being here, when we are talking about the evils of the caste system, the last point here is anti-democratic. What is this anti-democratic? So here, whenever we are talking about a democratic country, now after independence, India became a democratic country. How and why? So we have people who are the supreme authority, right? In taking the decisions here, we see that people, they have the supreme authority, power of the people. So when we are talking about democratic country, we see that everyone is equal in front of law. So people, they are given equal rights and they are not being distinguished on certain basis. So here they can take up independent decisions. Somewhere caste system was trying to, stop this ideology, this idea of being democratic. So here, these are some of the evils of the caste system, and therefore, there were so many social reformers, or let's say caste reformers here, when we are talking about the Indian reformers in general, from North India, from South India, from Western India, from Eastern India, they all tried to end the existing caste system in the society, which was really the need of the hour, and try to unite all the Indians together so that they could fight against the common enemy here, that is the British Empire. So now students, let's talk about all the important social reformers who worked against the idea of caste system. Now, before this, we try to understand that what were the evils that were created in the society because of the caste system. Now, let us talk about the reformers who tried to bring about a change in our Indian society, and they tried to go away, or they wanted that the whole system, the caste system, should be withdrawn from the society. So, the first reformer that we are talking about here is Jyotiba Phule. Now, have you ever heard about the name? Have you ever heard the name Jyotiba Phule? Not. So let's see who was Jyotiba Phule and what were some of the important works done by him. Now please don't get confused by the name here, that it's sounding like a female name, but he is a male. So we have Jyotiba Phule, who was a male reformer here, social reformer, who worked against the caste system that existed in the society. He wanted to go or did away with the whole system of stereotypes, with the whole system of prejudices that existed in the society. So here when we are talking about the main task, or why he became one of the most famous reformers here, so we see that he worked to get justice for Dalits and downtrodden. Now students, when we are talking about the Indian social reformers, please focus that social reformers, they try to do away with all the taboos or the stereotypes or the prejudice that existed in the society. So right now we are talking about the caste system. It means that in this whole caste system, there were certain groups, such as when we are talking about the Shudras, when we are talking about the untouchables, these were the people who had to face the brunt of the society, or let's say face the brunt of how people, they tried to communicate themselves, or how people as in the upper caste families, or let's say when we are talking about the Brahmins, Kshatriyas and Vaishyas, they try to, segregate themselves from that of the untouchables or the Shudras in the society. So Jyotiba Phule himself, he tried to get justice for the Dalits and the downtrodden who were not allowed to mingle up with the rest of the society. He also worked for the betterment of women. Now students, apart from the Dalits and untouchables here in the society, we also see that women, they were denied the political, or let's say all the equal rights that they could have got. So here you need to understand that he also tried to work for the betterment of women in the Indian society. For this, what were some of the things that he initiated? Now, he initiated the widow remarriage and started a home for upper caste widows in 1854. Now, already you have learned about, while we were talking about Raja Ram Mohan Roy and some other social reformers, you already have learned that how these social reformers, they were trying to bring about a change in the existing social system, the hierarchy in the that existed in the Indian society. So here we saw that widows who were living in our society, they were asked to either perform the sati system, or they had to live a very simple life, a sattvic jivan in very simple sense. So here he said that we should be initiating widow remarriage in our Indian society, where widows, they should not be allowed to live an ascetic life. Rather than that, they should be living happily after that, so it was not the fault of the widow that she's a widow, but why she has to face the brunt of the society, the rules that have been made for women. They had to face that if her husband died, she won't be able to live a normal life thereafter. So he, therefore, keeping that in mind, he started a home for upper caste widows in 1854, as well as home for the newborn infants to prevent female infanticide. Now, what is female infanticide? Now, in general, students, till today, if you go to some rural areas, you will see that there is a belief among people that male boy, or let's say male, not male boy, when we are talking about a baby boy, he is seen as an asset to the family. But when we are talking about the baby girl, she is seen as a burden to the society. So, in rural areas where we see that even if a girl is born, after two boys, they do not want to keep the girl, and therefore she is just killed after the birth. Now this is the bitter truth of our society that we still can find at some places. I mean, we can see the IMR ratio in our country, right? So here, when we are talking about the newborn infants, we see that they were also killed. Especially we are talking about a girl child, because they were seen as a burden in the society, not as an asset like the baby boy. Okay, so here Jyotiba Phule, he tried to bring certain changes in the society in these perspectives here. He also founded a society or a samaj that was known as Satya Sodhak Samaj. So what is the name of the society or the samaj that was formed by Jyotiba Phule? It was Satya Sodhak Samaj. Now when we are talking about the aim, why was this samaj or society formed? So the main aim was to liberate the Hindu Shudras and untouchable caste from exploitation and oppression. So here, when we are talking about the Hindu Shudras as in all the common people living in the society who were from the downtrodden families, and also the untouchables who were given the term Dalits, or let's say Harijans by Mahatma Gandhi later on. So when we are talking about all these social reformers, we see that the main idea was to liberate or free the Hindu Shudras from the shackles of the upper caste domination here. So these are certain points that you need to remember. Now let's talk about another caste reformer here, the social reformer here, whose name was Veere Salingam. Now who was Veere Salingam here? When we are talking about Veere Salingam, as you can just go by the name, we see that he was a very famous South Indian caste or social reformer in general. So the main demand for Veere Salingam was that he wanted some radical changes in Telugu Indian society. Okay, so here when we are talking about the regions of Tamil Nadu, where we are talking about the regions of Kerala and all the other states in southern India, extreme south region here, we see that he was an important Telugu Telugu social reformer here. He fought for the education of women and also for remarriage of widows. Now this is an important point here for all of you, that when we are talking about these social reformers, there were some common aims among all of them. So they were looking forward to fight for women education. They were looking forward to upgrade the system, the caste system that existed in the society, to upgrade the value, or let's say the status of downtrodden people, the Harijans, or let's say the untouchables in the society. Okay, and they existed everywhere. So he also, keeping that in mind, he also started Viveka Vardhini. Now this was a monthly magazine that was started by Veere Salingam. The idea was to make people aware about the conditions of the downtrodden people, about the conditions of the untouchables here, and also to point out and criticize the flaws in the society. Now, only when they started writing magazines, only when they started making societies, founding societies, samaj, and therefore thereafter they tried to bring about a change. They tried to influence other people in the society, tried to show them the reality and the flaws in the society and what were the changes that were needed here. Now, he also started a girls' school at Dhavaleshwaram. Dhavaleshwaram is a place here. So, in 1874, he started this girls' school in order to promote women's education here, right? Encourage women's education. And in 1884, he also established another school for girls at Enispeta, that is in Rajamundry. So he was an important social reformer who tried to upgrade the status of women in the society as well as the downtrodden people, the untouchables, and tried to did away with the system of privileges that were enjoyed by the upper caste families or the people here. The next important social reformer that we are going to understand here is about Sri Narayan Guru. So when we are talking about Sri Narayan Guru, again a very important, a very famous personality who tried to bring about a lot of changes in the society in a positive sense. So here we see that his teachings have a profound effect on the caste-ridden Kerala landscape. So Sri Narayan Guru, definitely he was a very, very, very famous caste reformer here, social reformer here, who definitely had a profound and a very, very enthusiastic impact, or he had a, when we are talking about the region of Kerala, till today you will see that Kerala is one of the states that is ahead from all the other states. Compared to all the other states of our country, Kerala is somewhere ahead in all ways, right? So here we see that he tried to bring about a change in the caste system that existed in the region of Kerala during that period. He also helped the state to achieve great social progress. Definitely the credit goes to Sri Narayan Guru, who tried to bring about a lot of positive impact in the society there among the mindset of the people who lived in Kerala. So he founded many ashrams, keeping in mind to make people aware about the flaws and about the incapabilities of the people, or let's say how they were trying to treat everyone, the stereotypes and the prejudice that existed in the society at that particular time. And also when we're talking about the important ashrams that were founded by Sri Narayan Guru, the most important was Sivagiri, that was near Kalla in Kerala. Now again, what were the ideals here that were followed by Sri Narayan Guru? So untouchability is something that each and everyone preached here, that they did not want to see people following the practice of untouchability. They wanted that everyone should be seen as equal in front of law, or let's say in society each and every person is equal. So here he said that untouchability, animal sacrifice to please the gods. You might have seen that there are so many communities who try to sacrifice animals in order to please God. It happens in all the religions somewhere. So somewhere Sri Narayan Guru, he was not appreciating these things that were practiced in our society, and the evil of alcohol, superstitious practices that were the order of the day. So somewhere you can say that when we are talking about Sri Narayan Guru, we see that he was totally against the idea of untouchability, the practice of untouchability that was being followed, animal sacrifices that were done in the name of God in order to please God. That was the main idea behind it, and the evil of alcohol superstition that was existing in the society. So somewhere he wanted to do away with all the system here. Lastly, we see that he also founded a very important ashram. The ashram name here is Advait Ashram. Now, what do we understand by the term Advait here? So here when we are talking about Narayan Guru, he believed that every person, every man was equal in nature. So here we are talking about the social equality and the social upliftment of each and every individual. So the term here Advait, it means that we have to believe in ourselves, oneself, and also we have to keep up this relation with our spiritual God here, or let's say the term that he wanted to bring about is you might have heard about Atma and Paramatma in that sense, right? So here when we are talking about Advait Ashram, the ideology here was kind of spiritual, and somewhere the idea was linked with the fact that there is one person, okay, and everyone is equal, and everyone has one God here. So we are talking about one God who is looking after each and every individuals, and all these individuals, they are equal in front of him. Okay, so this was one idea that was propounded by Sri Narayan Guru, and it was really, really important, and it impacted a lot of people who were living in Kerala, and also somewhere brought about a lot of changes in the society at that particular time. Another important social reformer or a caste reformer that we are talking about is Periyar Ramasamy. Now, when we are talking about Periyar Ramasamy, very important name here, and very, very, very enthusiastic person who tried to bring about a lot of changes in the society, the existing society here. So when we're talking about Periyar Ramasamy, we see that he was an atheist. Now, what is the meaning of atheist here? So when we're talking about a person who is an atheist, it means that he or she does not believe in the existence of God. Okay, so here when we are talking about Periyar Ramasamy, we see that somewhere he was not believing in the existence of God. Okay, Also, we are talking about him as a big social reformer. He was an activist and he was the founder of Dravidar Kazakam. Okay, so it was an important society that was formed in Tamil Nadu, and also he initiated the self-respect movement. Now, here when we are talking about the self-respect movement, again he was contemporary to whom? To Mahatma Gandhi. So somewhere we see that when we are talking about Periyar Ramaswamy, we see that he was looking forward for a society where untouchables they got the respect that they deserved. So this was the self-respect movement that was initiated in Tamil Nadu, and to do away with the caste system that existed in the society, the privileges that were being given to the upper caste people, the Brahmins and everyone, and what were the downtrodden people, they were trying to they were being subdued in the society, or let's say they were being suppressed, and also they were not allowed to mingle up with the rest of the society. So these were some of the common issues that were raised by Periyar Ramaswamy as well. Therefore, he was also known as the father of modern Tamil Nadu. So the term here is modern Tamil Nadu. Okay, so we know Mahatma Gandhi as father of nation, but in South India, when we are talking about the region of Tamil Nadu, we see that Periyar, he was considered as the father of modern Tamil Nadu because of the changes that he wanted to bring about in the society. So untiringly, he was working for the low caste people, for the upliftment, for their well-being, for giving them equal opportunities that they were denied because of the caste that they belong to, and so on and so forth. He also fought the government. So consistently, when we are talking about Periyar Ramaswamy, we see that he was fighting the government here. He was trying to bring about a lot of changes for the people belonging to the lower caste, and also he wanted that they should be given reservation because of the historical discrimination that they had to face. So since immemorial times, when we are talking about the ancient period, medieval period and the modern period, we see that the lower caste people, they were being subdued in the society in many ways. So therefore we see that Periyar Ramaswamy, he fought against the government, he fought the governments for the equal rights for all the low caste people. So he fought for the reservation in government jobs for all these people. He pressurized the government for social inequality. Right. Sorry. Here, when we are talking about pressurize the government for social inequality, it means that here he was questioning the social inequality that existed in the society. So please remember this point here that Periyar Ramaswamy, he was against the whole idea of social inequality that existed in society. He also brought about a major change in which because of this there was a change that was brought in the Indian constitution, and in article it was mentioned that the lower caste people, they would be given equal privilege, the abolition of the untouchability, for which Mahatma Gandhi and Periyar, they both were fighting. So these were some common changes or the common ideas that were brought about by these caste reformers, these social reformers, and they tried to look over the issues that were existing in the society, and in their presence they wanted that the government should be following it, and there should not be any discrimination on the basis of caste. So somewhere they believed in casteless society, somewhere they believed that there should be only one community, people living in unity, and everyone being treated equally in that particular society. Okay, so these are certain points related to Periyar. Now we will talk about Mahatma Gandhi and Bhimrao Ambedkar. So now students, let's talk about the importance of the role, or the importance of the role that Mahatma Gandhi played when we are talking about the important social reformers here. So everyone is aware that how important Mahatma Gandhi is to our nation, because he played the most important role as a leader, as a mass leader in India's struggle for independence against the British rule. Right. So students, you know that when we talk about the father of nation, we call him as Mahatma Gandhi here. Right. So Mahatma Gandhi, he played a very important role in India's struggle of independence, as well as when we are talking about looking forward to make people aware, and also the abolition of untouchability. So I have been talking about this topic here, right? I have been talking about how Mahatma Gandhi, he was also focusing on that, how when we are talking about the poor section of the society, when we are talking about the Dalits, he gave the term here to the Dalits, that is Harijans. Harijans here, it means that children of God. Okay, so let us talk about Mahatma Gandhi and his role in uprooting this whole the caste system, or let's say the practice of untouchability that was being practiced in the society. So these things, they were meant to be abolished, And here Mahatma Gandhi, he tried in his own way to aware people about the evil system that existed in the society here. So here Gandhi ji definitely helped to free Indian people from British rule through various movements. Now you might have heard about the non-cooperation movement, you might have heard about the Rowlatt Satyagraha, you might have heard about the Champaran Satyagraha, the Indigo peasants who fought against the British rule or the British officers here. So you might have heard about the Quit India movement, you might have heard about the civil disobedience movement. So all these movements, they were based on the ideology of Satyagraha. Now everyone is aware that Mahatma Gandhi, he returned to India from South Africa in the year 1950. But if I ask you a question, students, that do you know when Mahatma Gandhi, he first initiated the whole practice of Satyagraha? Or are you aware about the term Satyagraha? Do you understand the ideologies that Mahatma Gandhi, he tried to propound through the idea of Satyagraha? Can you answer all these questions? Some might be difficult for you. So for the first time in this world, I'm not talking about India, I'm talking about world. So in the world, for the first time, Mahatma Gandhi initiated the practice of Satyagraha in South Africa itself, for the Indians who were living there and who had to face the racial discrimination, the apartheid system that existed in South Africa. Now, when he came back to India in the year 1915, he definitely saw that there was a chaotic situation in our country where there were no leaders who could, just guide the people in our country, and also the evil system that existed in the society, somewhere it upsetted the mindset of Mahatma Gandhi here. So therefore, he went on this part of Satyagraha. He tried to bring about this ideology among the people, and he wanted that people should be following it. Now, what is Satyagraha? Satyagraha, as the term denotes, if we bifurcate the term, the first term is Sat and the second term is Agra. It means that Satya ka Agra, right? So in Hindi we can call that, but in English the literal meaning of Satyagraha is holding firmly onto truth. It means that there were two terms that Gandhiji he focused on, the first one being the non-violence and the second one being truth. So it was on the path or on the basis of truth and non-violence that Gandhiji told his followers to win any battle, and therefore it was the ideology of Satyagraha that was being used in all the movements that was initiated by Mahatma Gandhi, and therefore he came to be seen as the mass leader. So here when we are talking about the doctrine of Satyagraha, please keep in mind that Satyagraha here, it means that fighting the battle against the enemy. Now here enemy, when we are talking about battle, it does not mean that we are using weapons and everything. We are not being violent here. There were two crucial terms for Gandhiji. The first one being ahimsa, non-violence, and the second one being truth. As in, you can't lie. Right? You can't lie on face of other people, even he or she is your enemy. Try to persuade them on the basis of Satyagraha. Let them see the truth for themselves and decide that who is right or wrong. So here he focused on this idea, and also he led nationwide campaigns here, be it against the Rowlatt Act, be it against the Jallianwala Bagh massacre that took place, be it against when we are talking about the taxes that were introduced by the British government, be it the civil disobedience movement, be it the non-cooperation movement. But somewhere all these movements, they took a violent turn because people, they did not understand the idea, the basic essence of the term, that is Satyagraha. Now, Gandhiji led nationwide campaigns for the control of poverty that was very much prevalent in our society, for the liberation of women. Somewhere he thought that women, they should be kept at home, they should take care of their household, they should take care of their husbands, their family, their children, and so on. But somewhere he was also in favor of liberating women in letting them, get education, but it was on a later period. Also, he was talking about brotherhood among different religions. So there were so many movements that were launched in order to keep in mind the Hindu-Muslim unity in our country. The best example here is the Khilafat issue that was raised by Mahatma Gandhi, where he saw this as a good opportunity for Hindu-Muslim unity. And also he was looking forward that only when people, they are united together, they can fight against their common enemy, that is the British Empire. So here he was talking about unity as well. He was also talking about an end, putting an end to untouchability that was being practiced in our country, and also the caste discrimination that was being practiced here. So somewhere Gandhiji, you might not believe it, but he took up the task of all the untouchables here. He used to sweep the grounds, he used to clean the toilets in order to make people feel that every work is equal. No work is very much, when we are talking about the works of sweepers, when we are talking about the works of people who are cleaning toilets, when we are talking about the rag pickers, it doesn't mean because of their status their works were to be demeaned here. So therefore Gandhiji himself, he tried to do the works of the untouchables here, so that he could make people aware that it's totally okay and no work is small, so everyone should be treated equally in the society. Likewise their work should be treated equally in the society. Okay, so have a glimpse at all these images here. Now these are the glimpses, some of the momentary or the momentous let's say captured moments of Gandhiji, how he participated in all the movements, be it non-cooperation, civil disobedience, Quit India movement, and also Rowlatt Satyagraha, and so on. So all these movements, they were fought on the basis or on the ideology of Satyagraha. Now, he also organized poor farmers and laborers to protest against the oppressive taxation and widespread discrimination. Now, one thing that you might know about the movements that were initiated by Mahatma Gandhi, that it was a mass movement. It means that people from all sections of the society, they participated in the non-cooperation movement, and for all these communities, whether it's about the peasants, whether it's about the farmers, whether it's about the farmers as in when we are talking about the rich farmers, whether it's about the industrialist and everyone. So all these separate communities, they had their own fight against the British government. So therefore, all of them, they came together, understood the idea of Satyagraha, and based on the idea of truth and non-violence, they tried to comprehend with the ideas or with the practices of the British Empire or British government here, and they tried to challenge them. Right, they wanted that their common enemy should leave the country and they should get freedom as soon as possible. Also, when we are talking about the movements introduced by Gandhiji, one of the most famous movement initiated was in the year 1930, that is known as the civil disobedience movement. So this civil disobedience movement was against the monopoly of salt that was in the hands of British Empire, British officials who had the task of manufacturing salt, and they put a tax on the salt that was bought by people who were rich as well as poor. So therefore Gandhiji thought that salt is a powerful symbol and this could unite everyone in the society. And therefore this was the need of the hour, this was the need of the time during the India struggle for independence. And therefore Gandhiji, he led Indians in this civil disobedience movement against the salt tax. And this was a movement which all of you know that it is commonly known as the Dandi March. So here we see that 240 miles it was covered. Okay, so we see that Gandhiji, along with his 72 followers, he started his march from Sabarmati Ashram, and the Dandi March is known as the name or the nomenclature is given because he broke the salt law at Dandi. Okay, so it happened here, and you please keep this in mind whenever we are talking about 12th March. The movement was initiated, and on 6th April, the salt law, the whole manufacturing of salt was taking place, and this began or this initiated the civil disobedience movement, or the beginning of the civil disobedience movement. Apart from this, we also talk about Gandhiji, who remained committed to non-violence, truth, even in extreme situations. So whenever he saw that the movement was going out of control, when people they resonated to the idea of violence, when people they started doing violent acts, so therefore it was that particular time when Gandhiji decided to withdraw all the movements, whether it's be the Chauri Chaura incident that led to the withdrawal of the non-cooperation movement, whether it's civil disobedience movement when he saw that all the political prisoners, or let's say the political leaders, they were put in jail, and also how violence was taking place all over India. So these are certain things that you need to focus on. Now let's talk about Bhim Rao Ambedkar, another important personality. As you know that he is known as the father of Indian Constitution. Now why he is known as the father of Indian Constitution? Because Bhim Rao Ambedkar, he played a very major role when we are talking about the composition of the whole Indian Constitution today that is being followed for all the rules and regulations, the laws that are being passed in the country. So Bhim Rao Ambedkar has his own history when we are talking about the reformation that took place in the society, when we are talking about the social reforms that were being done. So he has also questioned a lot of issues that were raised or that were existing in the society during that particular time. So he was the first law minister, right? And he was the head of the drafting committee of the Indian Constitution. He was a determined fighter, deep scholar, and a great human. We can't deny this fact. So when we're talking about Bhim Rao Ambedkar, student, please remember that he himself was born in an untouchable family and he belonged to the Mahar caste. So this was the caste that Bhimrao Ambedkar belonged to. In his childhood, definitely, he has also talked about his experiences, how he had to face the brunt of being an untouchable, and also how he had to face all these discrimination in school and everywhere, where he was not allowed to mingle up with the common students who were sitting in the classroom, and he was sent to clean the ground. He was not allowed to sit in the class and read. And one day his father, when he was passing by his school, he saw his child Bhimrao Ambedkar, sweeping the ground. And that was the time, that was a turning moment for Bhimrao Ambedkar, because he father challenged the system that was existing in the school, and he scolded the teacher there. So this is a very famous story of Bhimrao Ambedkar here. You might have heard about it, or you might not have heard about it, but please understand that he himself belonged to an untouchable caste, and therefore he understood the problems that the untouchables they had to face here. He is known as the father of Indian constitution. Please remember that. Now his philosophy has given rise to a large number of Dalit political parties, publications and workers unions. Definitely this is an important point here, because when we are talking about the role of Bhimrao Ambedkar, we see that somewhere his idea was to give rights, the political rights, the social rights to the untouchables. So here when we are talking about the Dalit class, he was looking for a separate electorate. Now you guys might have heard about the Pune Pact that was signed in the year 1932. Now this might seem somewhat astonishing for all of you, that there was a brief period in which we see that ideologies of Mahatma Gandhi and Bhimrao Ambedkar, they clashed. So here we are talking about Pune Pact that was signed in the year 1932. Before this, Bhimrao Ambedkar, he was very much pressing on the idea that there should be a separate electorate for the Dalit class. Right, separate electorate here, it means that the Dalit community, they should be choosing their own leader. But here when we are talking about Mahatma Gandhi, he was looking forward for unity among all the people. So he said that if a separate electorate was made, then the whole unity of the country would be disrupted. So let's not give separate electorate to Dalits. I'm also looking forward for the unity of Dalits and all the other upper caste people and the lower caste people in the society. So we will give them larger representation here in the when we are talking about the general council, or when we are talking about the general elections. But separate electorate might disrupt the whole unity of the country. And this was the basic clash between the ideologies of Bhimrao Ambedkar and Mahatma Gandhi. And because of this, Mahatma Gandhi, he went unto fast till death, and fast unto death. And then finally, Bhimrao Ambedkar, he surrendered here, and they signed a pact, that was the Pune Pact, in September 1932, where we see that the general representation here of the people, the general electorate for the people, or their representation was increased for the Dalit people, but they were not provided separate electorate. So here when we are talking about Bhimrao Ambedkar being from that particular caste, being from untouchable background, he definitely knew that how he could help these untouchables and how it could be abolished. So definitely there is an article, that is Article 17 in our Indian Constitution, talking about the untouchability, abolition of untouchability in our society, and if today anyone practices that, so it is punishable by law. So he gave free legal advice to all the people, the poor people and the depressed societies. He fought against any injustice that was done to them. He also suggested the depressed people to leave bad habits such as gambling and drinking. So these were some of the ideas that were propounded by Bhimrao Ambedkar. Now students, we have now completed the whole chapter here. In this chapter, we have basically talked about the education and the social reforms that were brought on the society. We have tried to understand that how a new India was formed with the help of these social reformers, these caste reformers, the education reforms that were brought about by the British officials as well as the Indians here in our country, the committees that were formed, and how education was looked upon, how Western education was looked upon in our country, how social reformers that reacted to it. Did they understand that English was some important medium of instruction? Now, we also talked about the various social reformers, Ishwar Chand Vidyasagar, we have talked about Rajaram Mohan Roy, we have talked about Mahatma Gandhi, Veerasalingam, we have talked about Periyar, we have talked about Bhimrao Ambedkar, and we just have tried to understand that there was some social evils that existed, the practices that were evil in nature that existed in the society, and somewhere all these social reformers, they worked for the upliftment of society, for the poor people, for the suppressed class, for the women in the society, and somewhere they tried to do that. And therefore we are living in a world, we are living in a country where today people, they are able to express their views, they have the freedom to express their opinions, they have the freedom to follow any religion, and also women, they are being educated at various levels. evils. So these are certain points, the outcomes of the chapter that we have learned here.